We're live. I want to welcome y'all back, man. It's gonna be a little bit of a time gap in between when I did the first one of these and this one here, but I had to do some things, figure some things out, and we're back at it. So, man, a lot has transpired, but something I really want to talk about today. I was kind of sitting back today, and it was a good lazy Sunday. Had some friends come in from out of town to visit, and that was good. And so, today we just kind of kicked back and vegged out on the couch, watched a little YouTube and all this other stuff. Well, I was sitting there, and my girl and I were sitting there watching. I think we were watching Steven Crowder. We were watching one of his more recent episodes, and they brought up a subject of police. Well, not necessarily police, but jail and prison. And what is the function of prison? Is it punitive? Is it just to punish people, or is it rehabilitative? Is it to kind of fix these broken people and kind of transition them back into being productive members of society? So we talked about that for a little bit, and then we ended up watching this docu series because I was telling her about the Black Dolphin Prison in Russia, which I don't know if you're familiar with. I know Netflix did a series on that. Unfortunately, I don't have Netflix. Well, fortunately, I don't have Netflix anymore. Canceled mine with the whole, that whole cuties fiasco, which that'll probably be a subject matter for another day because that horse shit, it bears discussing. But I want to stay on track here so I don't get sidetracked and keep y'all too long, man. I'm trying to keep these things in about a half hour. If you're taking a shit, driving home from work, cooking, whatever you got, I'm there. So, anyhow, we're watching this thing. I just punched it into YouTube, and we were just kind of watching this thing on Black Dolphin, and just the difference in how a completely different culture views the role of prison. So it got me to thinking, and so that's what we want to talk about today. Is what the roles are. What do you think the prison's primary function should be? And for me, that's very simple. For me, I am a firm believer that prison should be purely punitive. It should be punishment. I understand the argument of, and my girl kind of went the other way. She's compassionate, more compassionate, whatever. But I come from the perspective of, you know, why are you there in the first place? Let's talk about what landed you in that situation. Obviously, you made a bad decision, but depending upon the scope of what you've done, now that could be anything from, a DUI, several offenses of DUI, to, I don't know, murder, right? So, as far as I'm concerned, you fucked up. So, you pay your price. Um, and then she brought up, which is a good point, that, well, at that point, all you're going to do is take these broken people and then reintroduce them to society. And to that, I would say, and to people who would argue that, I would say this. Why is it our job as a society to fix someone else's behavior? Why do I have to? Because, I got it, right? And I would say most normal people got it. So why is it incumbent upon us to put in extra effort to rehabilitate, quote unquote, right, some of these other people? And my issue is really this. as far as prisons go, like let's not even mince words. America's prisons, especially when you compare it to that goddamn Black Dolphin, uh, America's prison is it's nothing compared to what they do over there. And you know, my whole issue with the stance of rehabilitation is it's just it's not grounded in anything. It's a great idea. It's very, utopian. It's also very aloof, and I'm not going to lie to you. Like I tend to find a lot of liberal policies to be very aloof. They sound very good, but there's a disconnect with reality. And the problem that I have with them is they're almost like quicksand. Once we implement them, right? No matter how bad and this was actually said something along these lines, and I'm gonna try to do it justice. Thomas Sowell, he actually said something like this on one of. I saw a video of his online when they were actually talking about affirmative action, which is another liberal brainchild. So that this works. There's a connection there. But what he was saying was like with that particular policies, like there's never any onus on the people implementing these things to prove that it works. You know, the onus is on us to just, if it fails, well, we didn't try hard enough. We didn't throw enough money at it. We didn't have the right people in place. We're not at it long enough. So it's just like quicksand because, like, the only thing, it's like the more you try to fight, the faster you sink. And there's this kind of feeling of, I don't know if I would call it hopelessness, but it's like, how long do we have to stay at this before we can say, okay, it's not working? You know, personally, now, going back to my major point here, I have a problem with where the rehabilitative thing has taken us, right? Because at first it's like, okay, if you get some kind of support groups, a couple guys hanging out, talking out their issues. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that, but whatever. Whatever works. I mean, they got, what's the worst that can happen? They got time, right? So, whatever on that. But when you start to throw money in for, let's say, trade school, let's say, college degrees. I am vehemently opposed to. That is amazing to me because number one, you have people who have never gotten so much as a speeding ticket, right? Who work hard, support their families, and they can't afford to send their kids to college. So, in what world does that make sense? Where the people doing everything right can't send their kids to college, but the man who murdered these people, well, yeah, if you want to get a bachelor's degree in English literature, that's just fine. No, that and piggybacking off of that point, okay, so let's say 3-time felon Jabari gets his English lit bachelor's degree. Okay, Mr. Jabari, what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to, work at this prestigious university. Okay, well, you know what? In today's climate, you can't rule that out. I mean, there's probably some idiot bleeding heart that's going to be like, you know what? Give them a chance. But in most applications, hell, all the applications I've seen, one of the first questions that you come across as you're just going down that infuriating piece of paper, trying to regurgitate everything and jump through all these little stupid informational hoops. One of the first things they ask you, and in some places they ask you even before your education, is have you ever been convicted of a felony? Now, most of them also have a little disclaimer that says, this will not necessarily disqualify you for the position, but let's be honest. Once you check yes, they say, oh, good, that's one more I don't have to read. So, a felon with a bachelor's degree, that's kind of like me going down here and getting a New York strip served up on a trash can lid. Like, the one thing is good, but how it's presented to me just kind of turns me off to the whole thing. Now, that's not to say that something can't be done, but I'm not a fan of me as a personally as a taxpayer dumping money in to, you know, color TVs, bachelor's degrees, like all this stuff, all these extra fringe things that people on the outside don't have. And then they try to flip it around and become the sympathetic figure. Like some of these people have the gall to flip it around and try to become the sympathetic figure and be like, well, this is my life. This isn't fair. I'm sorry. You're in for what, 20, 25 years? For, okay, what'd you do? You killed somebody? Okay. So it stands to reason that in 25 years, probably sooner than that in most cases, but let's just play it straight. 25 years, you come back out, right? You're older, you've missed out on a lot of things by your own actions, but nevertheless, you've missed out on a lot of things. Yeah. Your life is significantly harder. Yep. But what about that person you killed? In 25 years, they'll still be dead. So for me, there's no sympathy there. Especially when it pertains to the more heavyweight charges, i.e. murder. Now, she was saying, and it's a fair point that again, some of these people, some of these people are rehabilitatable, and some of these people made silly decisions, or we weren't thinking, or they were just, they behaved as an irrational, emotional person, and blah 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 blah. Okay, be that as it may, there are consequences, right? And be that as it may, again, I look at the totality of the situation. If you took somebody's life, I'm sorry, you can never make yourself the sympathetic figure. That also goes for rape. I feel the same way about rape. I feel the same way about, most felony things that involve violating the non aggression principle towards another person. So, the fact that some of these people have the gall to make themselves the sympathetic figure and try to blame everything but themselves actually goes further to my point that the lesson hasn't been learned and that everything else is just a waste of money. Man, if y'all have not seen that special on Black Dolphin Prison, I like what they do over there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like what I see because some of those people, they they don't let them sit. I saw we were watching it. They go in there, they sit in their cells. I mean, sit is not the right word, but they are locked in their cells, not allowed to sit on the bed until it's dark outside. Which, so you see these dudes just pacing back and forth. You actually can see them going insane. Now, I think we can water some of this down because the Russians, they go a little hard on a lot of things. But I'll tell you what, I side more on that side because I'll tell you, if I'm not a big believer that people need to be told or taught that what they did, they committed that murder, they defrauded this business, whatever it is that lands them in prison. I'm not a big believer that they need to be taught that what they did was wrong. You know what's wrong. I would say the overwhelming majority of people know what's right and what's wrong. And there are, sure, certainly outliers who legitimately don't know right from wrong. And you know what? Those people are probably better off behind bars anyway. But as far as these people needing to be taught a lesson, like I don't like that because all I think that does is open up an avenue for them to find some kind of justification, something to blame that again that is not themselves And here we go, dumping money. So, this serial killer from Syracuse can have, one-on-one counseling to talk about why his daddy didn't help him on his tricycle. And the problem never really gets solved. So, look, I think those prisons should be as miserable as humanly possible. I mean, there should be hard labor every day. It should be as horrible as possible within certain parameters. Obviously, I'm not advocating, for. Well, you know what? Nothing comes to mind at the moment, folks. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm open to suggestions. I'll put it that way. I'm open, but I think these things should be as horrible as possible to teach the lesson that not what you did was wrong, because you know that, but the lesson is you don't want to come back here. And granted, you have some people who go to prison and that is their experience and they don't go back. But then you also have people who, oh yeah, this is my second time. This is my third time. Oh, I'm in and out my whole life. So obviously, it's not that bad, right? Or obviously, we're dealing with somebody who has a deficiency in some of their faculties as an adult, as a decision maker, somebody who cannot function with the rest of us. And okay, okay, then we need to put you away. So after that, we went to, we briefly talked about capital punishment. And actually, Russia doesn't have that, which is, I don't know if I was equal parts, it's probably equal parts fascinated and disappointed to hear that. But yeah, at least according to that documentary that we were watching, it said they did away with it in 1996, which is amazing. I never would have guessed that. But anyhow, we talked about capital punishment as well. And her main thing was she doesn't like, because my girl's about, she's about her money. So so like I feel like most of us are. So she doesn't like the fact that this is costing us a whole lot of money to do this, and I agree with her. Rope is cheap. I think it needs to be as painless on the taxpayer as possible. But you know what? I think certain crimes, certain criminals, the punishment should fit what you perpetrated. And I am a big believer that, especially in cases of murder, uh, the death penalty should absolutely be on the table. Absolutely be on the table. I'm not necessarily saying that anybody that kills somebody, you should put them down, because I think there are certain things. At least I'm allowing for certain, ex, ex, exculpatory, I guess, evidence and circumstances to kind of give people a break when they need it. But for the most part, I think you kill somebody, an eye for an eye. Especially when we're talking about murder. Especially when we're talking about, yeah, definitely murder. It's just the fact that you can take someone else's life, you know, go to jail, chill for a while, come back out, go to prison, chill for a while, come back out, and go about your life. That's something about that seems very wrong to me. Something about that just seems like you're getting one over. So we talked about that. We talked about the death penalty. You know, I, hanging gets it done. Hanging gets it done. It's cheap. It's got a, the thing about hanging, when you say hanging, it carries, for some people, it carries racial overtones. Well, a lot of people have been hanged, okay? And let's correct this too now, by the way. Hanged, not hung. Clothes are hung, people are hanged. So, you know, as far as that other aspect of hangings, nah. Understand it, especially being one of said people. Like I get it. I'm black. I understand that. But I don't feel obligated to own hangings. So hangings, hey, bring them back. I'm a fan. Firing squad, that's probably my second round pick. If I, first round, if hangings has been taken off the board, bring back the firing squad. I'm okay with that. A bullet, it's not too expensive. You can make those. But when we start getting to lethal injection, right? When we can start getting to the stuff where like, oh, we're gonna put you to sleep, and it's just gonna kill you while you sleep, and you're just gonna drift off. And no, hell no, hell no. One of the things that was interesting about that show, that documentary, was when they were with the Russian prison. Right about the time they had that decision that they weren't gonna, use capital punishment anymore. There were people who obviously who were on death row. And they said, well, now we're just going to commute your sentence to 25 years. And one of the people they said, we're going to commute your sentence to life. And one of the people who was being interviewed there said, damn near everybody, because he was on death row, he said, damn near everybody in his cell block, they killed themselves immediately. They hang themselves. There you go, hang themselves. With their pajamas. One guy hanged himself with his underwear, which if nothing else, points for creativity. But that I think that to me said something about the perception of which is worse from the perspective of a person who's going to have to carry out that sentence. So I say that to say this, you know, I think there is something to be said for the people who say no, capital punishment is over too quick. They need to be punished for what they did. Yeah, it's a bit sadistic, but hey, I can go with that. I can understand that. I've never been in that situation, and hopefully, knock on wood, never find myself in that situation. But you know what? That's a hell of a thing. That is a hell of a thing. Especially watching those guys in that show, just kind of all they really had to do was pace in their cells all day. I mean, they ate, and whatever they ate, it wasn't even real. Like it wasn't solid food. It was just like soup. So, but look, hey, it's not a pretty thing, but you know what? You're not there for being a great person. So, as far as my sympathy will lie with the people who you've harmed for sure. But as for you, sir, as the saying goes, you can look in the dictionary between shit and syphilis, and that is where you will find my sympathy. But I don't know. Let me know what you think, man. Just one of my, we were just kind of sitting back watching that today. Like I said, it was a pretty busy weekend. I had a couple friends in to visit, and just wanted to kind of sit back and relax today, enjoying some of the fruit of the vine myself, and hopefully this finds you on your Monday morning, on your way to having a good day. So, ladies and gentlemen, until we meet again, and until you visit Planet Hog once again, be well.